Welcome back, America. We have wonderful guests. Brett Tolman, former United States attorney from Utah, of the Tolman Group, a former federal prosecutor, but a good former federal prosecutor. We have a lot of former federal prosecutors out there, many of whom talk and don't know what they're talking about. But you do, Brett Tolman. Brett, first things first, the decision coming out of the Supreme Court. First of all, the decision on school choice, the decision on the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights, the decision when it comes to abortion. Don't we see now a court or a working majority on this court that believes in complying with the Constitution and leaving all the rest to the other branches, to the other entities, the states, and to the people thereof? Isn't that exactly what the framers intended?
Well, Mark, it is, and it's so overdue that we became accustomed as a country of not having a Supreme Court that guided us in a fashion that was steady and that was consistent with the underpinnings of the Constitution. And the intention of the framers was so substantial in regard to what the government would grant and what it would not grant for purposes of rights. I look at the decisions coming out, and for the first time in my lifetime, really, 52 years old now, first time in my lifetime, I see that the Supreme Court is reining in its activism. And that should give a lot of comfort. I know that the country's divided, but reining in activism on the Supreme Court is something we've all hoped would happen at some point.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing to watch the critics, is it not? First of all, they have no sensible arguments. On the one hand, they want an activist court. On the other hand, they don't want an activist court. If this court had ruled that abortion is unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause, they wouldn't have liked that kind of an activist court. So basically what they're pushing for, isn't it, is the ends justifies the means. And if they win elections, they want to push the agenda. If they lose elections, they want the court to push the agenda. And then they have their permanent bureaucracy pushing the agenda. In other words, they want power all the time.
Yeah, I was really sort of stunned by the president's comments after the decision. You know, to quote him, he indicated that this decision was inconsistent with common sense and the Constitution. That is the exact opposite of what the court has done in this decision and other decisions. They have ruled consistent with common sense and consistent with the Constitution. And for the President of the United States to really be driven so angrily by politics that we no longer are giving any deference to the Supreme Court analyzing very thoughtfully what the Constitution says and what it doesn't say is a remarkable time that we live in. But I also saw, Mark, that the media has put out statements such as the Supreme Court has taken away a constitutional right. Well, the reality is the Constitution never granted a right to abortion. And ironically, they did grant a right to possess firearms in this country. And so we have upside down analysis, and it's as poorly done as what the President of the United States has stated.
You know, we get these lectures from the left. We get these lectures from the Democrat Party, from the media. We get these lectures from the January 6th committee. They wave around the Constitution. They talk about Donald Trump. They talk about what took place and that he was trying to undermine an election result, and conduct a coup, and all the rest of it. And yet their very presentation and their process is about the most anti-constitutional process I've ever seen, certainly in public. No opposition, no exculpatory evidence, no contrary witnesses, no Republicans on the committee who are actually Republicans, no ability for people to answer their accusers because they have now potential criminal charges hanging over their heads, so they have to plead the fifth. Meanwhile, they talk about defending democracy and defending this system. What do you make of this?
You know, I look at it sometimes as a trial lawyer, and if the case that, you know, the Democrats and Liz Cheney and Representative Kinzinger were putting on, and if this were a court of law, can you imagine that, Mark? The judge would be holding them in contempt for manipulating evidence, for refusing to hand over exculpatory evidence, for refusal to present a fair assessment of the evidence that they have, for the grandstanding. We'd have sanctions. We'd have contempt of court, and the case would be thrown out, but not in the court of political ideology. Instead, we see that the Democrats, the left, they can't win on the merits of the argument. And I keep saying this. I'd love for someone on the left to sit down with me and give me the arguments that they have in all of these areas that you outlined that are based in fact, based in the law, that would support the position they're in. They can't, and so they resort to media, they resort to distortion and manipulation, and we all have to sit back and watch as though there's credibility to it. And I don't find credibility to any argument they currently are pursuing.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.